Friday morning, decided to have a real good stretch. So, got this bar. Well, actually, it's a piece of timber that I got, and I've covered it in tape and black and nasty underneath it, and then nice fabric tape on top. It's got a bit of flex in it, which is good. So, when I'm doing a lot of my stretches, mobility work, either across my shoulders, moving around for mobility, or down between my feet, because of that stretch, I can help myself pull myself down, and at the same time it's pushing my legs apart. I'm just doing a lot of work this morning with opening up my hips, doing a lot of pancake stretches, and then basically looking at all key areas and stretching off obviously my hamstrings, my glutes, my calves, quads, lower back, you name it, just hitting it all. And then being progressive as well. I mean, what I can also do is, as well as doing these kind of stretches down here where I can help pull myself in, which is really, really good. I can also bring it up. I've added my ankle weights to the end. And I can come down. And you can do good sets. You know, hold it for a whole length of different times, depending on, you know, how flexible you are and how good you are at doing it. I mean, ideally you want to be doing nice long stretches, or take it up to the point where your body sort of said no, not enough. If you've got someone with you, they can also help you push you down under safe control, and making sure you don't suddenly go into these savage pain thresholds. So just be very smart of what you're doing. You know, you don't want to push yourself and hurt yourself, but there's a lot you can do. And by coming up and down, you're getting that movement, and you're taking it on, and come up, and at the same time you're still working your legs as well, you know, and you open up your hips. With this weight, you can move it around. I don't actually have much space in it, but the good movement, you keep everything opening up, moving it all. You know, and I'm not going to have enough room to do it, but you can extend the bar straight out, and by having the bar straight out, you're extending the point away from where you want to flex. So you're taking the weight this way, which is pulling you down, which is helping you stretch here. See if I can show you. So I've got 2.5 kg and then 3 kg, so it's good. Yeah, and you can do this with a light bar. You can easily, obviously the heavier you do it, the more of a pain it is to hold. And depending where you slide the weights around. I mean, I've added this tape so I've got better grip on the bar. All it is that one. Obviously, if your shoulders are nice and fresh, then you can hold on to it. If your shoulders get tired, just drop the weight, or same again, just as you do with training. You know, you can do drop sets. You can take the weight off as you're tiring. Getting that good mobility. There's a lot you can do. I like having a bar, just because when I've actually got space and not hitting everything, it gives me an extra dimension to play with when I'm having to stretch myself out and move myself around to you know, stretch all areas. The good thing about this bar, you know, I could have it on my up on the balls of my feet. Come over the top, put it on the floor, and depending on where I want to stretch, then again I can change my width of my legs. So this would be real good for doing straddle, or this off. Same again, you know, you bring them slightly closer in. All my lower back's getting stretched. Bring myself down, hamstrings getting stretched. Bring it down more. Hit one side, hit the other side. So everything's progressive. So whatever you do to one side, you should do to the other side. And always think about, you know, front and back. Don't just think, oh yeah, all I'm going to do is stretch my hamstrings, because before you know it, you get an imbalance with your hamstrings and your quads. So yeah. What else? You know, if you are stretching out wide, make sure you bring your legs close together as well. I have a oh. I mean, I could not have that bar as well. I could not have the bar at all. All, you know, all I do is pull down on my feet. Doing it this way, at least then you can individually work them, and the same if you're out wide. But having this extra little bar, it just gives you a little bit of an extra leeway to increase your stretch. So, you know, I started off standing up, worked top to bottom, stretching down from my body, triceps, shoulders, chest, back of my shoulders, you know, across my traps and my rhomboids, biceps stretched off, forearms back down, obliques, all of the midsection down to my hips, glutes, hamstrings, quads, and all the way down through. So I just systematically work through it. It's 6 a.m. now. You know, I've been doing this. It's a long stretch today because I wanted to really loosen myself up. A lot of the stretching that me and Dusty do is on the Smoking Aces YouTube channel, and it's all based on the martial arts that Dusty's done, martial arts I've done, you know, and all the training we've done over the years. You know, a lot of guys play lip service to it and end up getting really stiff, and that's the last thing you want, you know. You know, last week when I was doing all my running and my tabbing, you know, every day I was doing a stretch up the canal at different points. This week's been really intensive in here on my bodyweight card, and then also on my powerlift bars. Oh, there you go. It's my MacGyver work on the pads. So I'm going to add some extra tape to these just to make them a little bit more secure. They're solid, so they're stuck down with that Gorilla Glue, and then I've put Gorilla Tape around the outside. I'll put more tape just to secure them even more. The good thing, it just gives me that extra little height to play with. Yeah, this is what I was MacGyvering on yesterday. add into my gravity bars. And actually, because these are like little soft yoga blocks, with my added weight, it will give it a bit more extra grip as well. Something I've got to think about right now is, obviously I really want to open up my hips, and get them nice and loose, just to help me doing pancake stretches, and just to help me do all of my handstand work and straddle to lift and all this stuff, these gubbins. And with stretching, you just got to keep at it. Keep at it all the time. You know, when I was doing kickboxing, Thai boxing, BJJ, and all that, you know, I was stretching, every day. So, and I'm trying to do it now, but I'm just not doing it as intensely as I used to. Unfortunately, I used to have a lot of, partner work, and I could do a front kick, and someone could stand in front of me. I'd put my leg, on their shoulder. They'd stand up, take my leg, push it right up. I've got my leg up here, so my hamstring's always been I've always kept them loose. So, but for a long time I've always been training for myself, so I don't always have that luxury of a spot or somebody to help me stretch or whatever else. So I have to do what I can for myself. Such is life. But yeah, with all your stretching, just think about top to bottom, being progressive, long holds. Never going into any pain. If you've got any pain, fucking stop, and seek a professional advice if need be. Lots of my stuff and Dusty stuff is all on the YouTube channel, and also it gets covered on Instagram. So yeah, what else? But this is really handy. You can all it is just a branch which I've just got and found it. What's meant to be is found it. It's now part of training kit. So yeah, and that's good because it gives me that little bit of extra tension. The good thing as well, because it's quite bendy, is that when I pull myself down, it also gives me that. Also pushes my feet apart. And it gives that tension, pushes it. So yeah. So today, Friday, good stretch. I'll stretch tonight as well, and then I'll be back at it on Saturday. Probably Sunday's probably midday off, but work dependent. We shall see. Things change. So if in doubt, just adjust to what's going on every day and make it happen. But yeah, I can't recommend enough doing all your stretching and mobility. Like this morning, I started off on my mobility from my shoulders, stretching off. And something I really like doing is you put your hand on the wall, and then you literally, your hand stays flat, so your hand doesn't move. And it's just this whole section just rotates, you hold your shoulder, and it really helps loosen it up and opens it up. Shame with doing like scapular control, opening up and stretching off the back. Good long stretches on my chest after injuring this. When I injured this the other year, I couldn't even push the door open, which is pretty shocking. So, well, I mean, with my stretching, I just like to work through the body, find the areas which are tight, find the areas which are stiff, and that's the areas I know I need to focus on. Ideally I'd be having, a sports massage a couple of times a week. Unfortunately right now I can't do that. So it comes down to me just being smart with what I'm doing and having a couple of days a week when I'm doing my progressive stretching, and then obviously my preparation and maintenance stretching before, during and after exercise. I always do a little bit of a stretch before, and then during it I keep stretching off, and afterwards I try and do longer stretches. For example, Monday, Tuesday train, Wednesdays just stretch mobility and cardio, Thursday, Friday train, Saturday stretch mobility cardio, Sunday day off, or maybe you start rotating again through it. There's lots of ways of doing it. You could do day on, day off, 2 days on, 1 day off, 3 days on, 1 day off, 4 days on. It's whatever works best for you. Or you could literally just, every day you could just hit a hard Monday, or in the morning, in the AM I should say, and then in the PM you just do a full on stretch session. or you could do stretching in the morning and then train later on. It comes down to what you're doing, you know, for your own training. You know, by stretching out, by putting my resistance going this way, that's helped me stretch here. You know, you do those holds, you do the breathe in, so breathe in, come down, move around, so I can really feel how tight still my lower back is. So obviously when you're doing a lot of tabbing, you know, carrying heavy kit, you're going to get a real tight lower back. So you need to make sure same lats. It's good when the hat gets away. You know, and going from up here, that box split, again, when you're up top, you've got your legs out wide, you move yourself around and you know, stretch yourself. So just every position you're in, just think of how can you use it to your advantage to stretch. And then when you're coming off, obviously make sure you release it, shake off, and then change and work through the rest of the body. You know, there's so many different stretches you can do to focus on different areas. It's not rocket science. It's literally just feeling your body and just letting it do its thing. But obviously everyone's going to be at different levels. So don't get put out if you're up here. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, that's the level you're at. You know, ideally maybe you want to get down to here at some point. But over time, and stretching does take a long time, and it's something you've got to stick at. Make it progressive. You know, by adding weights, bars, resistance bands. They can all be good aids to help you stretch. What else? Well, there's obviously a hell of a lot of information you can find online, which is totally free, and all on YouTube and stuff like that. There's gymnastics, so that's why I say to guys, you know, research, and the internet. Get on the internet. It's all out there. There's someone else I saw the other day. Got my socks on. I'm slipping too much. Socks are great if you want to slide around. When you don't want to slide around, not so great. I'm nowhere near as flexible as I used to be. Christ, I used to be doing full box splits. But you know, also bear in mind, you can overstretch. Yeah, so I mean, a long time ago, when I was going for, I was doing really well in karate. I was stretching a lot, and I think I stretched that much. I put a lot of strain on my knees because I think it's because my box splits was out so wide, doing it all the time. So just bear in mind that overstretching and causing yourself any injuries or just trying to do stuff that you're not ready for. Think, just be smart. Train smart. And think about the alignment when you're doing it as well. It's like, for me, right now, I'm trying to, from years and years and years of, show you, years and years of my ankles, they tend to splay out, so I'm trying to line them up right now and keep my ankles straight. Keep them nice alignment so they're stretching the top of my ankles, so I'm increasing my mobility on them so I can point my toes. Because I can easily just splay them out, but that's because my ankles have got lazy, my ankles. As ideally, they're splayed out, there's pointing forwards or they're slightly splayed. If I'm sitting backwards, then that's really loose. But what I want is that pointed this way and good alignment and stretch it on across the top of my foot. Especially if you're doing loads of tabbing and running the rest of it, you've got to think about these. You've got to think about the old feet. Because Christ, they get hammered. Absolutely hammered. And your ankles get hammered, and your knees get hammered. So you've got to really think about maintaining those and looking after them. So, and it's sometimes a lot of the joints, because the joints will build up a lot of, become tight, and if they're getting injured, you could have like cartilage build up. So with good mobility, you can get really good. I'm having to do a lot of work on these right now, trying to really. What I tend to find is, because my ankles have got tight, is that when I do a lot of point work, which I'm really trying to focus on, is that I get cramp in my feet, which is really fucking annoying. But having that good alignment just helps you, when you're trying to get yourself into position for different movements. And it's like when I was out tabbing the other day, it's all well and good that I'm stretching my calves and trying to stretch shins. You've got to think about your Achilles, and the Achilles stretch is a very subtle stretch, but you've got to get yourself into a position where you've got that, it goes, get the tension on it. And right, I can try and show you. So it's literally, that's the Achilles stretched. That's tight. Whereas, sometimes, you want to be right down there, but I've got tight over the years. So I have to stretch this off and loosen this up. Crazy dragon and crazy tiger. So yeah, you've got to bear in mind, stretch these. It's all well and good getting, it's all well and good doing long calf stretches and elongating your calves, but you've got to stretch your Achilles as well. You've got to do, obviously be careful with your Achilles because you don't want to fuck that up. But you're going for any career courses, life-changing competitions. So Just think about it all. Doing your maintenance, or like I used to say it to the guys, the physios, it's like MOT. You know, gotta look after the machine. So I'd go and see the Dale from Bulletproof Bodies. I speak to Dale. Dale knows all about me when we were serving. And yeah, I'd go and see Dale. Dale, give me a body MOT. So he would help me run through a lot of the stuff with my sports physiology. My own personal year from all my time doing sports when I was at university, then carrying on the sports when I was through Parachute Regiment, doing Parachute Regiment PTI. So I had all this different background and a heavy background with all my different friends. So I already learned a lot. So I was already quite keyed in up there with what works well because everyone's used to talk about it. So I had a lot of knowledge, and talking to Dale, he then gave me a whole load more knowledge to work on not just prime movers, but then obviously all the stability muscles as well, and then working, throughout your core, etc. So hence why I've got my Swiss ball, whatever that is. Oh, it's there. Swiss ball. Just because I'm a crazy singer. So yeah, and that's a brilliant bit of kit for doing all your core, especially depending where you put your body, you put your alignment. If it's out wide, is it in tight? Are you working from your hips? So depending on if you're kneeling on it, is it just your full leg? Is it just your knees? Are your hips going forwards? Are your hips going forwards? So it's your hamstrings, your quads, your glutes, your core, everything is locked. Or do you do it where you see someone who's on the gym and they're just all over the shop and they're not even engaged? Which isn't necessarily their fault. They might not have had it explained to them, but it can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing on it. So again, lots of this knowledge is all out there. So yeah, I learned a lot from Dale. Bulletproof Bodies, check him out on Instagram. And he is a lecturer these days up in Manchester, and he does a clinic on Wednesdays in Manchester for physio, and he also goes to the some of the tabbing events up on the hills. Immediate Action Fitness are doing a tabbing event, and he goes along and does the physio at the bottom of Pen y Fan at Story Arms. So yeah, it's all good. What else? All right, it was bloody 6:21. I've been going off for ages. You're like, you are boring. So AM stretch done. Work for whole body. Go feed the machine now. Busy day ahead, and stretch again tonight. And I felt like my body needed it this morning because I could just feel that I was tight and energy was down. I just needed to give myself some maintenance. So, but yeah, all good stretching stuff, good core stuff is on 22 Smoking Aces YouTube. Check that out, or it's scattered throughout Instagram and Facebook and God knows where else. Luckily, I've got my Spotify working on my iPad. I was getting really stressed out because it wasn't. I was having dramas on my phone. There you go. Right, that's me going off. Index. Speak to you later. Have a good day. Make it happen.